Alright guys, part 5? Yeah. Today we have a nice day, which is a good welcome change. So we took the car out of the garage and we want to take care of some stuff that we can't do in the garage, like pedals and welding the secondary air ports on the exhaust manifolds. We finished up the majority of the wiring off camera because it's just boring watching me solder, heat shrink, solder, heat shrink, solder, heat shrink. We have to tidy the wiring up a little bit. It's very messy, but slowly but surely we're working our way towards that. Let's do it.
Keeps ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me just let me That clock keeps ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me just let me That clock keeps ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me fuck all that shit, just let me go. Owers and tastemakers make us no chaser. Gets the blood flowing like a fucking pacemaker. Cut the middleman and inhale the vapors. Madman, old 10-time drapers. Cut the jukebox on, make the woofers blow. We gon' sit here until all them heifers go. Holler at the tens and spend a little dough.
So we purchased the slightly used, so new to us, shift linkage. And we have the actual shift rod, and then the selector rod, and then the shear rod, I think. And we got new bushings, so we're going to replace all the old bushings and then install it and hope it fits.
Be getting high, no exception to the rule, do what you do to get by, cause I keep ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me just let me That clock keeps ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me fuck all that shit, just let me go. At a house party getting jammed up, you were Tony Danza. When they ask who's the fucking boss, put your hand up. Never put it down cause you're banging to the anthem. 2010.
So I was unable to film the actual process of putting the shift linkage together because of how annoying it is to actually do. But it is in one piece, and most of it is new. Some of the stuff is used. So basically the way it works is you have your shift rod here, this bushing and the pin at the end hold the actual shift rod, and then this is the selector rod. And basically when you shift, it moves the selector rod, and that's how you actually change gear. Now usually what happens is, if you have a shift linkage failure, what happens is this pin at the very top here, there's a little retention clip that holds it on. That usually snaps, and you'll be left with one gear, and that's not pleasant. But yeah, this is actually a 5-speed ZF out of a E39 530i. So it actually is the same box they used on the 328 and M3 E36s. So it bolts right up. Now just to hook up our drive shaft and lose this old automatic drive shaft. And hopefully we'll be able to move it under its own power once you get the cooling system taken care of.
I'm on fire. You take me higher. Let's make the night and kiss the day.
Yeah then. Alright guys, this is our second night for this part, and I don't know if you remember from last time, but I mentioned that we replaced the fuel injector seals so they'd stop leaking and everything's going to be great. Well, when we started the motor, that didn't do anything. So we went ahead and got a new rail. This is actually the old rail here, and 6 new injectors because they were leaking from halfway down. You can actually still see it's still wet. And these are just causing us a headache and left a big pile of fuel. So we have new injectors and a new rail. So hopefully that'll be it. We also forgot to tighten our Vanos pressure line, so it was a little messy. We tightened that up quickly and got a new set of crush washers. And now we just have to do a pressure test on this new rail, because it was a royal pain messing with those little clips that hold on the fuel rail. The connector actually for the fuel rail. After that, we're going to tighten up some wiring. We got some more bolts for the clutch pedals, and slowly start putting on all our new parts. And we had a couple of issues with our parts delivery. We got the wrong parts, and we got parts that didn't come at all, so we had to resolve that. It's not for the shift linkage, but hopefully we'll get everything coming together soon. Maybe we can drive it. Hopefully, it's ideal. We also have to figure out why our key doesn't work. You notice every time I turn this thing on, it's touching to the plus directly. So we're gonna have to pull out the EWS and see if that's giving us a hard time. So let's do a pressure test on this rail by manually engaging the fuel pump and see what happens. Alright, so we've hooked up all our wiring, and we figured out why our starter isn't getting any power. We bypassed EWS. So this is our last test start. We have fixed our leaking injectors. So hopefully everything will go off and it'll run nicely. Let's do it. Spreman. Daj kontakt. Jest spreman. Eigen Paul. Sounds nice. It looks like it's running nice. It's a little bit oily in here, that's for sure. But that'll all be fixed once we get the rest of the intake plumbed. So that'll do it for now. See you next time. So this is, I think, the third night at this part. We have a couple of small things to do before we end it all for this episode. Our clutch line, our hard line, has been connected to our master cylinder, and we didn't get a chance to film it because we were really in a rush. But basically, you put it in the master cylinder, and there's a little metal clip that holds it on, and you put the whole pedal box in, and it's impossible to do. I couldn't see, so it would be impossible to film. But it's there, it's done, and when the weather gets better, I'll get some up-close shots of how it sits. For now, just imagine it's all together and you have 3 pedals. We have to put our soft clutch line in, and this will tie our hard line to our other hard line, and that goes to the slave. And we can maybe even connect the soft line that goes to the master cylinder to our brake reservoir. That feeds brake fluid to the master cylinder to operate the clutch. We also installed the drive shaft while we were outside, which was an adventure in itself. Again, sorry, no video. Not a possibility when you're holding drive shaft with 2 hands, unless you film with your nose. But it's in, and I'll get a closer look at that later and how it sits. Pro tip: drive shafts can expand quite a bit, so even though it looks like it won't fit, even though it's supposed to fit and it looks like it won't, it will fit. You just have to stretch it a little bit. And let's just put this line in and move on.
Feeling like it's out gear. Driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear. Like an outlaw on the run, dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running.
Alright, so that'll do it for part 5. I think it's part 5. So basically, we got our steering coupler bolts in. Those took a while to come by mail. We got our clutch hard lines and soft lines all connected. We got our shift linkage taken care of, our drive shaft attached, and what else did we do? Oh yeah, we swapped the fuel rail. And we got the interior back together as well. So we're basically waiting on one crucial part, and that would be an engine wiring harness off an E39. The issue we have is that our current harness off an E46 is too short, because on an E46 the fuse box and the ECU sit over here, and on the E36 the fuse box sits over there, the ECU rather. On the E39, the ECU also sits over there, and it had the same motor. So what we can do is take that entire engine harness, swap it onto this engine, and then route the cable around there, and everything will be nice and tidy. Because we can leave the ECU over there, where the fuse box is, but it will be very, very allergic to water, and that's something we don't want. We have to be reliable for this to be viable. This is a daily driver after all. So in the next episode, we want to actually start taking care of the cooling system and the heat, and we already got some fittings to plumb the cooling system. But that should do it. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe and leave a thumbs up. That helps us out. And make sure you check out our Facebook and Instagram pages if you want to see behind the scenes stuff. And see you in the next episode.
That's all it is. Hi, buddy.
Just have to consult our main mechanic.
What do you see? Second supervisor is here.